Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba's rise to power has been no less than the proverbial fairy tale one. 3 years after an unprecedented dropping in the 2018 general elections, Premier Deuba finds himself at the helm of the government yet again, the fifth time he has commanded the executive reins. The Deuba administration's priorities would be fighting the pandemic and clean up the mess left by the previous administration. Good morning, I am Bipashna Tamang and these are the headlines of the hour. Nepali Congress President Sher Bahadur Deuba appointed as the new Prime Minister. The President administers oath of office and secrecy to the Prime Minister and 4 ministers. The President's office finds itself in controversy yet again. Made to revise the oath, the new Prime Ministers due to lack of mention in constitutional clause. The death toll in South Africa climbs to 72 after violence engulfs parts of the country following the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma. And England clean sweep 3-match one-day series against Pakistan. Overhauls the target of 332 runs, losing 7 wickets. Nepali Congress President Sher Bahadur Deuba has been appointed as the Prime Minister. This is Deuba's 5th time serving as the country's Prime Minister. President Vidya Devi Bhandari administered newly appointed Prime Minister Deuba the oath of office and secrecy yesterday evening at Sheetal Niwas. The newly appointed Premier also formed a 5-member cabinet yesterday itself with 2 ministers each from Nepali Congress and Maoist Centre. Balkrishna Khand has been given portfolio of Home Ministry, while Gyanendra Bahadur Karki has been appointed as Law Minister. Likewise, Pampa Bhusal from Maoist Centre has been appointed Energy Minister and Janardhan Sharma Finance Minister. All the newly appointed ministers took the oath of office and secrecy yesterday. Meanwhile, the swearing-in ceremony of newly appointed Prime Minister Deuba was delayed by almost 2.5 hours. The President's office had failed to disclose the article under which Deuba was appointed the Prime Minister. Deuba insisted he would not take the oath until the President revised the notice, which eventually contributed to the delay. Former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, speaking prior to his departure from Balwatar, said he accepted the Supreme Court's mandamus, at the same time expressing serious discontent over the verdict. Addressing the nation prior to his departure, Premier Oli said that he only stepped down due to court's verdict and not by public mandate, citing that the Constitution had been misinterpreted to tend to vested interest of a handful of people. The former Prime Minister remarked that the court's verdict had pushed the democratic system towards a wrong direction. Claiming that he throughout his life fought for democracy, Oli said the court's verdict had raised unnecessary questions against him. The outgoing Prime Minister added that the court had left a wrong precedent by interfering in every political matters. Oli also expressed doubt if the reinstated House of Representatives would function full-term. Oli came down heavily upon the disgruntled faction led by senior leader Madhav Kumar Nepal and blamed leaders of the faction for inviting the current situation. Oli also claimed that his government had achieved several development and public-oriented activities and had managed sufficient quantity of vaccines for the citizens. The former Prime Minister expressed his disappointment towards the court and his own fellow party leaders throughout his address and said he was more concerned about the deteriorating state of the law and order than having to leave the post of premiership. The outgoing Prime Minister did not attend the swearing-in ceremony of new Prime Minister Deuba as well. KP Sharma Oli was ousted from the government due to his unconstitutional moves, while the post of President, Vidya Devi Bhandari, who supported Oli several times, has remained intact. Questions are being raised whether action will be taken against the President, as the Supreme Court termed the move to dissolve the House of Representatives as unconstitutional. We have more in this report.
The Constitution has established President as the state's guardian and compliant of the Constitution. The incumbent president, Bidyadevi Bhandari, however, has repeatedly met with criticisms for her failure to fulfill her role. The president has mostly been criticized for supporting controversial political moves by former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. The president deemed it unnecessary to consult with experts and stakeholders before endorsing the former government's controversial decisions. President Bhandari met with flack for dissolving the House of Representatives twice at the recommendation of former PM Oli and for issuing an ordinance on Constitutional Council as well. The Supreme Court labelled the move to dissolve the lower house and reject the Congress President Sher Bahadur Deuba's claim for premiership as unconstitutional and against the spirit of the Constitution. The President's decisions on 21st and 22nd of May have been annulled by the Apex Court and KP Sharma Oli has been replaced. However, the post of the President remains intact. Questions are now rife regarding the role of the President in coming days.
We'll take a short break here. We have more news coming up. Welcome back. 1,639 new coronavirus cases were reported in the country yesterday, taking the total infections tally to over 658,000. The death tally has reached 9,412 as 12 more individuals succumbed to the virus. The death rate continues to stand at 1.5%. Based on the latest report by the Health Ministry, 7,058 tests through PCR method were carried out in the past 24 hours, while the infection rate stands at 23.2%. Kathmandu Valley alone reported 587 new cases yesterday. 2,078 individuals registered full recovery, taking the total number of recoveries to 623,105. The recovery rate stands at 94.6%. According to the Health Ministry, there are 26,261 active cases, of which 23,539 are in home isolation, while 586 are in intensive care units and 182 in ventilator support. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked locals in Parvat district what should be done to improve roads in rural regions. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
पिच गर्ने बाटो नाला तर्काउने आको बजेटहरु अब त्यही बाटोमा लगाउने फाल्टु खर्च नगर्ने
हिँड्ने बाटो सडक राम्रो बनाउन पर्यो बजेट मात्रै खाएर काम भएन
कालोपत्र गर्दियोस् गराबिल अथवा के गरेर संरक्षण हुन्छ त्यो गर्दियोस् ध्यान दियोस्
मेन चल्ने बाटाहरु पहिला कुन छन् तिनलाई विशेष प्राथमिकता दिएर तिनलाई दिगो बनाउने
It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question: what do you think of the 41 months tenure of the Oli government? The options are option A, excellent; option B, average; and option C, weak. The voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And time now for the sports update.
Sports news.
Ireland registered a stunning 43 runs victory over South Africa in the second one-day international. This was Ireland's first win over South Africa in any format. Sent in to bat first, Ireland posted a challenging score of 290 runs for the loss of 5 wickets, with a top score of 102 runs by their skipper Andrew Balbirnie. There were also useful contributions with the bat from Harry Tector, who scored 79, and George Duckrell's 45 runs. In reply, South Africa were bowled out for 247 runs for 48.3 overs. Jane Malan top scored for Proteas with 84 runs, followed by Rossi van der Dusten's 49 runs. Mark Adair, Joshua Little and McBurney shared 2 wickets each for Ireland as they lead the 3-match series 1-0. The first match of the series was washed out. The third and decisive one-day match will be played this Friday. Team Nepal has begun its preparations for the upcoming Olympics 2020 to be held in Tokyo, Japan. 5 athletes will compete at the tournament and a 26-member team, including 4 coaches, will reach Japan. Swimming prodigy Gaurika Singh will participate in the 100-meter freestyle women's category, while Alex Shah will participate in the men's category. Likewise, Kalpana Pariyar will participate in the women's 10-meter air rifle. Sonia Bhatto will participate in the 48 kgs category of judo and Saraswati Chaudhary 100-meter race. This is Gaurika's second participation at the Olympics. Prior to this, Gaurika had competed in the 2016 Rio Olympics. Gaurika and Alex have already reached Tokyo and started their preparations. All participants, coaches and team members have been inoculated against COVID-19. All players will need to test for COVID-19 every day for 7 days ahead of the tournament. The Tokyo Olympics has been scheduled to take place between 23rd of July to 8th of August. And that's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Have a great day ahead.